We are, in fact, live, which means countdown. Hey, welcome to another edition of the Willie Bragg Show. I am your host, Willie Bragg. And what I am going to do is occasionally, when it seems fitting, I'm going to play some karaoke because they always connect to what I'm going to talk about. So I'm going to apologize for the next 3 minutes and 46 seconds of what you're about to endure. But I'm going to do a karaoke of a song called Russian Roulette by the Lords of the New Church. And when doing so, I will go into why I did that song. So here we go. Enjoy. I'm on a helicopter ride through Vietnam. I'm a like Tiger Square kid, I'm Superman. I'm putting on weight for the stuff. Man, I'm going through any way I can. Hey, 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 we're in the movie. I feel up and I feel groovy. Let's go out and get some of that. Gimme, gimme, gimme some Russian roulette. Everywhere, everyone is red and green. I got lust for glory and a tape machine. I'm living out Frank Capolla's dream. Out of my mind and I'm feeling mean. Hey, 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 we're in the movie. I feel up and I feel groovy. Let's go out and get some of that. Gimme, gimme, gimme some Russian roulette. Hey. I say, hey. I say, hey. I say, hey. I'm on a Nuremberg stuff for blowing X away. I've got a head full of Hendrix. I'm feeling okay. I'm feeling my grill, Miss LeMay. Out of my mind, can I come and play? Hey, 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 we're in the movie. I feel up and I feel groovy. Let's go out and get some of that. Gimme, gimme, gimme some Russian roulette. La, 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 la. La 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 la. Give me some Russian roulette. I said hey. I said hey. I said hey. I said hey. La la la, we're in the movie. La la la, and I'm feeling groovy. La la la, get some of that. Gimme, gimme, gimme some Russian roulette. Hey, 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 we're in the movie. I feel up and I'm feeling groovy. Let's go out and get some of that. Gimme, 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 gimme some Russian roulette. I'm sorry you had to put up with that, but there was Method to the Madness, which there's actually a song called Method to the Madness by Lords of the New Church. But I figure I'll go ahead and do a karaoke of this English American post-punk band that existed from the 1980s. I believe it was a couple of guys from the Damned and Stiff Vaders from the Dead Boys collaborated together. Stiff Vaders is no longer alive, but anyway, I can't play the song itself, so I figure I can get away with karaoke. And if you want to know, this was Lords of the New Church. I'll get you a photo real quick of them. In a second. Here they were. There they were back in the 80s. Lords of the New Church. So I believe that the lead singer, Stiff Bader, dated Martha Quinn from MTV for a while. But needless to say, I'm back. The reason I'm playing this is because we don't learn our lessons. All kidding aside, and we're getting into the meat and potatoes and what's serious about this shit. We don't learn our lessons. I'm going to play you a video from 2003 of the stupidity that I have to endure from the human race from time to time. So give me a second here. I'm being a one-man show. Of course, you've heard me say that all before, but newcomers need to know that about me too. So I apologize even more for what the stupidity you're about to endure. Listen closely because it's not as loud as it needs to be.
Listen, this is where all the French wine belongs and all the French people.
And the bottles in the garbage.
Our message is that after all the lives that we lost in France and Normandy, it's a very ungrateful way for France to pay us back. Okay, they have pretty much broken up our coalition, and they've actually brought us closer to war than if they would have supported this coalition, because they have encouraged Saddam Hussein to hold back and do what he's doing.
Stand beside us, because don't forget what the Americans did for them. Stand next to us, because if you stand the way they are standing right now, what they're doing is they're giving Saddam Hussein extra force, extra power.
That was stupidity right there in 2003. Now, those were supporters of George W. Bush, basically trying to shame France for not supporting the effort to invade Iraq. And it turned out that the French were correct, and those morons there were wrong. George W. Bush was wrong. Tony Blair was wrong. And everybody that supported the war crimes in Iraq were in the wrong. They were all wrong. Now, some people recanted and apologized. Glenn Beck eventually apologized for it, but he favors saber rattling with Iran and Russia today. So, fuck him. But the thing about it is that back in 2003, everybody was calling for a boycott of products made in France. I already loved the French people prior to 9/11, but after 9/11, they proved that they were the ones that were correct, and the U.S. and their allies in this police action in Iraq were in the wrong. And I remember how politically ignorant people were back then. Oh yeah, that socialist president Jacques Chirac did not stand with Bush and Blair. Well, the news is that Jacques Chirac was not a socialist. Jacques Chirac was the conservative president of France at the time, which the Conservative Party in France, the Union for a Popular Majority, is actually to the left of our Democratic Party here. That's how stupid our Overton window is, that a French conservative was more correct on Iraq than presumably an American liberal like Hillary Clinton, like Joe Biden, like John Kerry, and John Edwards. All those motherfuckers voted for the Iraq War and voted to give aid and comfort to the enemy, George W. Bush and Dick Cheney. Yeah, I said it. So, and it turned out that the French were correct and the Americans were wrong when it came to this policy of going into Iraq. Never forget how wrong the United States were for blaming the wrong country for 9/11. Oh, they knew Saddam Hussein did not collaborated with Osama bin Laden. And any idiot, a moron, if they think hard enough, would know that. But then we're talking about George W. Bush, who makes the average moron seem like a PhD from Harvard. So that's what we're dealing with too. That is what we're dealing with. So boycotts, right? Well, if you think it was stupid to boycott anything made in France in 2003, please get a load of this shit that's going on. Back then, there was a bunch of Bush Cheney people that were supporters doing this to go and give a message to the French and to quote unquote own the libs here in the United States, like Ben Shapiro likes to do. He thinks he does. He's not owning anybody. Most right-wing people in the media do not own, because they're fundamentally wrong on all these issues. So there's nothing to own. But anyway, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to play you this here. This is from February 25th. I want you to take a look at this and see the similarities with a slight twist in today. So
a number of bars here in West Michigan have stopped serving vodka as a way to show their support for Ukraine. Carla Byron joining us in the newsroom now. And Carla, you were saying not so fast when it comes to dumping out the vodka.
Kirk, before you go doing that, you may want to check where it's made. Certain well-known vodka brands may have Russian names and roots, but Smirnoff, for example, has been made in America for nearly a century. Choosing to not serve vodka may be more of a symbolic move than anything else. Popular vodka brands such as Smirnoff and Stoli may not be made in Russia, but many brands are. Paul Isley, a Grand Valley State University professor, says there are about $41 million worth of sales of Russian vodka per year.
That's really small compared to the $1.7 trillion economy that is in Russia. But for a company, it can be very big. So if we were to decrease the number of units sold, it would affect the profitability of those companies and would affect their willingness to support this.
Isley says hurting the companies would unlikely influence Russian President Vladimir Putin or affect the country's economy. Sanctions have a much larger impact. The ones currently in place are making it harder for Russia to move and spend money around the world. However, Isley says an argument could be made any small boycott helps show solidarity.
Having this symbolism that says, yes, there is a large group of people who are supporting this by showing it and doing these types of things, like boycotting a product, can help show people across the world that the United States isn't divided about these types of things.
Isley expects the sanctions in place right now will put Russia into a recession in the next 3 months. The U.S. would see a 1 to 2% increase in the inflation rate. Prices will go up a little faster when it comes to things like fuel, and costs for businesses will increase as well, Kirk.
All right, Carla, thank you. Art?
Okay. You want to know why that's comparable to the stupidity of 2003? The difference is, back then, the people who were propagating the boycott of French-made products had a hate boner for basically the left, and the left got triggered by the boycotting of everything made in France. They even did back then, 2003, freedom fries. Y'all remember freedom fries? That was the great culture war shit of 2003. Even foreign policy became a culture war issue then, as they do now. And so, you had congressional cafeterias renaming their French fries and their French toast as freedom fries and freedom toast. And why? Because they wanted to own the French. And again, as I said, the French, as usual, are correct. And the United States, as usual, is wrong. I mean, just by every fair metric, whether we're talking about, France having universal health care and the United States still grappling with the issue. Why can't we should we go with a public option, or should we go with Obamacare status quo, or go back to the way things were prior to Obamacare? Never the positive direction of Medicare for all, or even better, the National Health Service as exists in Great Britain. Oh, no, we can't do that. We're not even planning to even seriously discuss a public option in the middle of a pandemic, let alone Medicare for all and real healthcare reform. Oh, can't do that. But, we can go and try to bring the world civilization onto the cusp of World War III by trying to start a fight with Russia. And doing that, and that way we get to own Trump, because, we libtards out there, we have a hate boner for Donald Trump. I don't want to sound like I'm defending Donald Trump. I'm not. In fact, if anything, I have a lot of criticism for Donald Trump for his hawkish stance on Russia. I'm not pro-Russia, but I certainly do not support U.S. bullying and around the world like they've been doing, like what's being done in Cuba, what's being done in Venezuela, and what's been done in the past in places like Chile when they toppled Salvador Allende. And very few people know that the Prime Minister, Norman Kirk, I believe his name, was possibly murdered in New Zealand in 1974. A lot of people don't know about that. It was because the Prime Minister was opposed to nuclear weapons testing in the South Pacific. And that was a problem for Washington, D.C. And so they were like, there's a troublemaker down in New Zealand. Let's go and take care of that socialist misfit. So that's what's been going on there. So now they want to go and boycott vodka from the shelves. We're going to go and boycott the vodka to really own Vladimir Putin. Do you think that pulling vodka off the shelves, especially vodka that was made in the United States, is somehow going to affect the economy of Russia? It's stupid. That line of logic is stupid. I mean, and all it is just the liberal version of what the Bush-Cheney supporters did in 2003. Oh, they're going to boycott the Dixie Chicks. They're going to boycott France. They're going to do that. And how dare they talk about our commander in chief? They're dividers. We're uniters, and I mean that sort of thing. Never forget. That sort of thing. It just was annoying back then, and now you got liberals doing the same thing today in the year 2022. And speaking of boycotts, so now if you're stupid enough to be a Bush supporter in 2003, boycotting French-made products, I laugh at you, but that's your choice. Same thing with all the people who are liberal wanting to boycott vodka in the year 2022. I laugh at you all folks too. But here's the thing. Both acts are legal and protected by the First Amendment. You know what's not being protected by the First Amendment? BDS is not being protected by the First Amendment, because apparently if you urge a boycott of Israeli-made products and goods, if each of these states that have the law, and I think over half the states already have the law, they can actually, you could get fired from your job. You have to, in some cases, you have to pay a high fine. And if they really, really want to fuck you over, they can put you in prison up to 20 years. And that is the Anti-Boycott Israel Act. And they're trying to make that law a national law. Abby Martin was able to defeat the state of Georgia. I believe it was the Supreme Court in the state of Georgia that basically struck down the law in the University of Georgia system that require people who do public speaking engagements to sign a pro-Israel loyalty oath. And Abby Martin wouldn't have it, and she challenged them, and she won. And she's actually very good to listen to. You ever get a chance to listen to Empire Files with Abby Martin? Her husband, Mark Pricer, was really based. He heckled George W. Bush at an event several months ago. So, I got nothing but total respect points for both Abby Martin and Mark Pricer. But having that said, this is the kind of stupidity we're discussing. We're not discussing the fact that we need universal health care or anything. We're now going to go and try to start another war. Let alone we're doing bombings in Somalia. That doesn't get reported hardly on the news. And then let's see what else. And we're continuing to sell arms to Yemen. Saudi Arabia, whereby we're overseeing a genocide in Yemen. And while there are people that wants to go and bomb Syria and bomb Iran as well, and I don't support bombing of any country anywhere in the world. Saudi Arabia is probably the most dangerous country in the entire fucking Middle East, because they're the ones that the United States is sucking up to, selling them arms, and a lot of the terrorism against the West is not being committed by Iran or Syria or any folks like that. The majority of it, with these folks being connected with Al Qaeda, being basically, basically Saudi Arabia is at the core of most of the terrorism against the West today. But the United States plays patty cake with them. Remember, the Bush family were friends with the Bin Ladens. And it ain't no accident that after 9/11, that there were 50 people from the Bin Laden's family that were safely on a plane headed back overseas to protect them, because the Bush family protect their own. Never forget that. So anyway, we have here on the chat line, Transmark says, how are you today? Let's see, wish the West would give up supporting Nazis and not Vodka. Absolutely true, because there is not a good actor over there in that Russian-Ukrainian conflict. Some people say that Vladimir Putin is just like Hitler. No, he's not like Hitler. He is a right-leaning authoritarian, but he's not Hitler. And I have criticisms of Vladimir Putin. I am opposed to the way Russian laws are enacted that overtly discriminate against the LGBTQ community. That is something to be concerned about. While I am hardly what you will call an evangelical Christian. It's just not my orientation as far as religiosity is concerned. I do find it problematic that because of the influence of the Russian Orthodox Church, that Vladimir Putin discriminates against American evangelical Protestant movements in Russia. They may be kind of obnoxious, but I don't think they should be banned. So that's the dilemma right there. So Vladimir Putin, is he a good guy? No. Is there anything good I can say about Russia today? Not the network, but Russia as a society itself. After the collapse of communism, they did retain their universal healthcare system, and there is officially no death penalty in Russia. And, Russia kind of did the West a favor with defeating ISIS. So, how ungrateful the United States can be. But in the Ukraine, you have actual Nazis in the government. In the Avaz battalion, the military in the Avaz battalion, and you have various ministers in the Ukrainian government who are actual neo-Nazis. So that's where the Nazism is at right now. Now, do I still support Russia pulling in tanks into Ukraine? I do not support any country doing that. There's not a country that I support doing that. I am not a practicing Trotskyist, but there was a group of American Trotskyists in the 1940s and 50s that came up with this thing called third camp internationalism, and I am opposed to any government that imposes its will on other nations, and doesn't mean you're choosing you're choosing a side. Sometimes every side is fucked up, and in this scenario, US, NATO is fucked up, Russia is fucked up, and Ukraine is fucked up, and Russia and the United States got nuclear weapons. Do the math. Damn Skippy, I am opposed to this intervention, because there could be no positive outcome when you have nuclear weapons involved. That's where I stand. And let's see, Transmarxist also says Empire File is great. It really is. I enjoy the program. So if y'all like what you heard, press like and comment. If you disagree, comment anyway. Feel free to share the content on this channel. As a First Amendment absolutist, it's my duty to inform you to create your own platform and utilize it, because we're the muckrakers of our time. Feel free to subscribe, hit that notification bell, help make us grow. And until next time, keep that red flag flying high, because we have a class struggle to wage here in the United States, because I support no war but a class war. And remember that we are all Julian Assange. Wait a minute. Transmarxist has one more thing to add. Have you seen the documentary on Ukraine on Fire? I have not seen that documentary, but I can look it up and check. I'll be glad to do that. So anyway, I will conclude with music, and I'm going to wish each and every one of you a great morning, a great day, great afternoon, whatever time it is. So let me do this, and y'all take it easy.